Welcome, everybody. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us this evening for our very first virtual White Pines Gala. My name is Sadie, and on behalf of the Port Moody Public Library, I would like to thank you all for joining us for our first gala. The Port Moody Public Library created the White Pines Local Author Collection to highlight and support local authors, poets, and illustrators from our community. We launched the collection in May 2019 with 12 inaugural authors. Over the last year, we have received many exciting new submissions, and we now have more than 30 local authors, poets, illustrators, journalists, artists, and songwriters who are a part of this special collection. This collection is very special to me, and I have had the absolute honor of getting to know our authors through their writing since we first launched last year. This gala is one way in which we are highlighting these talented people from our community and providing them with a space where they can share the work that they have created. You can find more information on the White Pines collection on our website at portmoodylibrary.ca/White Pines. Here you'll find our monthly author highlights, the catalog entries for the books in the collection, and information on how to submit a book to this collection yourself. We have an absolutely wonderful event ahead of us with readings and discussion from 18 of our newest White Pines authors. If you have any questions during the event, please feel free to type them into the comments on the Facebook video, and you can type them throughout the readings, but we won't actually stop to address them until the end of the readings. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our newest White Pines authors. Hello, everyone. Wonderful. I'm so happy to have you all here with us. Welcome to all of our authors, and thank you to each of you for joining us for this event. I'm so excited to hear everyone's readings, so we will get right into this. Those of you who are watching on Facebook, I hope that you will sit back, relax, and enjoy the readings. The first author we will hear tonight is Antek Twardysko. Antek was born in Zakopane, Poland in 2008. He came to Canada with his parents in July of 2009 and settled in Port Moody, where he now lives with his family and his dog, Yoki. I'm just going to share a picture of Antek's book here. There we go. He is 12 years old and enjoys reading, biking, fishing, and playing video games with his friends. Antek is also an avid fencer and a member of the Canadian Fencing Federation. His fascination with books started very early on. With his inborn zest for literature, it's not surprising that he learned to read at the tender age of 4.5. From then on, Antek's love for books only grew. Antek's book, Sweet Boy Jethro, tells the story of a dog that was rescued by the SPCA and brought to a new home. So I welcome Antek.
Say hi. Hi.
Hello, Antek.
My name is Antek, and I'd like to share a bit of my book.
Wonderful, thank you.
All I remember from my early puppy days are loud, angry voices, bad smells, and being very hungry all the time. People with angry voices threw me and my brothers into a tiny, dark cage and left us locked up with no food or water for hours on end. Nobody seemed to hear our pitiful whimpers. I felt so hopeless. But one day, as the cage door opened, I heard a soft and sweet voice and a pair of gentle, loving hands lift me up, kissed my head, and whispered, "Come, sweetie. Oh, you are so adorable. Let me get you some food, water, and a warm blanket." That day, me and my brothers were rescued by wonderful volunteers from BC SPCA. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening.
You're very welcome. All right. Well, our next author we have here is Kailey Veenstra. Now, Kailey is a writer, speaker, and content creator. She uses the medium of story for connection and healing, giving voice to our shared human experience. She aspires to connect one with their soul's purpose and to the living reality of love, especially in dark times. She has self-published 3 books, facilitates local workshops online and in person, and works by day to assist small businesses with their marketing and communications. You can find Kailey online at www.kaileyveenstra.com. Kailey wrote her book, You Can Change the World, specifically for her daughter. This book explores the simple yet profound truths of love and service to the world and what it looks like on a practical level. No one is too young to make a difference. This is a love-based values story created for children ages 4 to 10 that will deeply bless the child while also inspiring the adults in their life. The book also features local Port Moody photography. So please welcome Kailey.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Kailey.
You can change the world. My parents always tell me, you can change the world. But sometimes I wonder what they mean. On family walks, we smile at the people we pass. Sometimes we stop to say hello, especially when we see an older person. Dad says that listening makes people feel loved. So when we're at the playground, we ask how everyone is doing, and then we listen. When I need a present, Mom helps me make something with my hands, or she takes me to the local neighborhood store. When a new neighbor moves in, our family welcomes them to the neighborhood. And when someone has a baby, Mom and I take their family food. When someone is kind or offers to help, we never forget to say thank you. When I'm nervous, Dad listens to my fears. He talks about times when he was little and scared and encourages me to be brave. My parents say that dinner is family time, so we talk instead of playing on phones. When we pick flowers from the garden, we share some with our friends. When something bad happens or a friend is hurting, we light a candle and we pray. When it's time for bed, Mom and Dad tell me why I'm special and why they're lucky to be my parents. Is this how we change the world? Yes, and you can do it too. How will you change the world today? Think of 3 things that you can do on your own or with the help of Mom or Dad. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kailey. That was lovely. Such a very important message, I think, in that book. So that was wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. So the third author that we have tonight is Larysa Plawan Levycky. I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Larysa was born in the city of Mariupol in southeastern Ukraine in 1938. During the Second World War, 3-year-old Larysa left the Ukraine with her mother, who was a descendant of a German aristocratic family. Larysa would go on to spend all of her childhood in Germany, her teenage years in Toronto, and most of her adult life in California. Larysa's professional training at the Canadian National Ballet School the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and the Walter Thornton Modeling School provided her with extensive experience in performing arts. She speaks, reads, and writes in several languages and conducted her own modeling school and agency for over 23 years in the San Francisco Bay Area. Larysa's book, Destiny, tells the story of the von Statten family, a German aristocratic family living in eastern Ukraine in the 1800s. At the height of the communist revolution, the family loses nearly all their wealth, forcing a series of events that lead the beautiful 19-year-old Lydia von Statten to change her name to avoid communist attention. The story continues through the Second World War, following Lydia's tale across Europe and eventually to Canada. Destiny is a tale of perseverance, love, and tragedy. So I welcome Larysa. Hello, Larysa.
Hi. Okay. On Sunday, the weather turned out to be sunny and beautiful for their excursion on the sea. The breakfast went smooth and organized. After breakfast, everyone helped to prepare the picnic lunch for sailing. Alex went to the cellar to get a case of red wine, while Vicky made lemonade for the children. The spirits were high. Everyone was very excited. I would suggest for everyone to go and change into sailing outfits. Don't forget to take along warm sweater and a jacket. It could be very cold on the sailing boat, Vicky said. Alex took the children to change. Emmanuel held him. The front door rang. Vicky went to open the door. Gertrude and Hasses arrived half an hour early. Vicky invited them to the parlor and offered fresh hot coffee. 2 years ago, when I was in this house, everything changed. I remember you had on the wall in the parlor a copy of a painting, The Sunflowers by Vincent van Gogh. One would think he painted the sunflower fields in Ukraine. What happened to the painting? Dora asked. We gave the painting away together with the furniture to working class, Vicky said. Coming into the parlor with the drinks, the boys ran down the stairs into the parlor. When they saw their grandmama, they started to talk one in front of the other about their kindergarten. Lydia was standing alone in the door of the parlor, looking strangely at everybody. At the time Emmanuel came into the parlor, he noticed Lydia standing looking lost among the noisy crowd. He came up to her, picked her up in his arms, kissed her on the forehead, and said, "You are the prettiest little girl here." She smiled and hugged her father as hard as her little arms could. Alex came into the parlor carrying blankets on his arm. "Good morning. I think we are ready to go," he said. "Alex, do you think you and Emmanuel should take the accordion and guitar along?" Vicky asked. "Yes, why not? I think it's a good idea," Alex replied. Everybody enjoyed themselves in the parlor. "I hate to break up such a lovely time, but we need to start getting ready to go," Vicky said. In a few minutes, the Hasses with Gertrude got into their car and drove away. Alex's group got into the car and followed. And half an hour later, they all met at the port of Azov to rent a sailboat with a captain. The captain pulled in front of them with a 46-meter sailing vessel with 3 sails called the Sea Breeze. They all stepped on board, and in no time, they were sailing in the middle of the Azov Sea. The day turned out to be sunny and beautiful, with very mild wind. The children ran to the captain at the steering wheel. Peter wanted to stir. Since Peter was short, he could not reach the wheel. The captain built for him a platform out of the wooden crates that were lying nearby so that he could reach the wheel. The captain was instructing Peter how to turn the wheel to the left and then to the right and how to keep the wheel straight. Peter was listening to the instructions very carefully. He managed to handle the whole wheel quite well. Lydia wanted to stir the wheel as well. The captain looked at Lydia and thought to himself, how could he refuse such a beautiful, courageous little girl? He picked her up, placed her on the platform, and showed her how to stir the wheel. Her face has lit up like sunshine. The pride came across on her face. Johannes was too frightened to try. He just he was watched quietly. Dora stood up on the deck to stretch. She deeply inhaled fresh sea air and sighed. I don't remember when I felt so good, she said to Joseph. Emmanuel stretched out on the deck. He tried to get some suntan on his face. Vicky and Gertrude were sitting on the pillows near the captain's cabin on the deck, reminiscing about the past. Joseph took out his pipe from his jacket pocket, filled the pipe with Turkish tobacco, lit up and puffed round circles in the air. He pretended that he was a captain on large clipper in some foreign land. Alex came to captain to offer to relieve him for a few minutes. The captain was more than glad to accept the offer. It was lazy afternoon on the Azov Sea. Alex's second love next to Vicky was the sea. When he was sailing, he felt relaxed. He could get in touch with himself. Vicky looked at her wristwatch. It showed 2 minutes after 12. She thought it would be good time to have picnic lunch. She asked the woman to set up the captain's table in the den. She brought with her cold duck and vinaigrette salad in the basket. For dessert, she made fruit compote. The children had lemonade and wine for everyone else. When the table was set, Gertrude called everybody to lunch. After Alex finished eating lunch, he went to relieve the captain so that he would be able to have lunch as well. Emmanuel joined Alex at the wheel with 2 glasses of wine. Both enjoyed the sea breeze, fresh, cool air, and wine. They felt so good. They felt like singing sailor songs as they were navigating the sailboat. The rest was eating lunch in the den. They were listening to the captain's adventure stories. After lunch, the captain returned to the steering wheel while Emmanuel started to play on his accordion and Alex on his guitar, some Russian and Ukrainian songs. Beautiful sounds were echoing against the wind. The waves were carrying the sound far, far away, maybe even to the Black Sea. Cold, strong winds started to pick up at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The waves started to rise high. The captain suggested it would be safer to stop the excursion and return to the shore. Shortly after, the captain was mooring the Sea Breeze at Mariupol's port. Everyone was in a very good spirits. They thanked the captain. Alex paid him his fee. They all said goodbyes and left.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Larysa.
You're very welcome.
So our next author tonight is Gregory Robb. Now, university provided Greg with a 6-year head start. He sent dot matrix printed manuscripts all over the world. Most of them were rejected at first, as this was the rite of passage for budding writers. He proceeded undaunted until a top 10 contest result would lead to an acceptance. He used all the passion from that acceptance until, by the mid-90s, Greg was becoming widely regarded as a serious wordsmith. By the time he graduated as a high school English teacher, Greg produced works ranging from columns aimed at Canadian writers to business profiles for AOL Time Warner. Greg loves to explore written forms. Therefore, he is just as happy penning a radio editorial as he is doing a blog with formatting. His work has tapped into his historic loves of radio, television, and music. Through his career, Greg progressed to become a national copy editor for websites, as well as a stalwart contributor to the content of prominent corporations. All the while, he never lost sight of the fundamental love of having a story to tell and a blank computer screen on which to do so. That remains Greg's biggest privilege. Greg's book, Transients, From Failure to Future in a Scarred Family, demonstrates how a reasoned examination of family history can assist one generation to repair the painful legacies of its predecessors. This book offers one man's roller coaster testament to the power of healing through expression and brings home the message that it is time to break the chains of abuse. Please welcome Greg.
Thank you. As I trundled to the hospice elevator, I tried to grasp the greater tragedy that my father had died or that we had never had a loving relationship. Repressed anger is a very dangerous toxin. Keep enough of it running through your system for long enough, and rage becomes normal enough to be untraceable. However, roots tell us all we need to know about what grows above them. So, Transients began as a literary way to navigate grief. I did not intend it to be a book until 57,000 words exploded on screen in 37 days. The air was clear. But were my historic struggles really all my father's influence? No. It turned out to be the impossible legacy of two previous generations, which were passed on to us. Inheritance gives us the good, the bad, and the ugly when we are born. In childhood or adolescence, one faces the exploits of the world without possessing the tools for navigating them. One arrives at such insight, the ability to connect the roots of coincidence. That is when one can repair damage and move onward. It took 50 years for me to find those roots, 5 decades of time spent surviving, not actualizing my potential. Victory and agony were lived in equal measure. We all own our decisions and we live with them. An individual's background and upbringing clearly influence those decisions, but they are not what defines us. We are the authors of our lives. I get to write my book, and my decisions are its contents. My life story had for too long depended on who the narrator was. This book empowered me to reclaim that singular narrative, the one that is too often hidden, the truth.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Greg. I'm always so interested to hear kind of how writers find their process and how you kind of got to that point with your writing. So thank you so much for sharing. The next author that we have this evening is Anya Wyers. Anya is a Port Moody resident who was born and raised in northern BC. She writes a bi-weekly blog about kids, crafting, writing, and life in general, and is also a stay-at-home mom to her 2 kids and dog, Eddie. Anya is currently a student at the Writers Studio Online through Simon Fraser University, where she is working on her next novel, a fictional story loosely based on her time as a paralegal in Vancouver. Anya's book, Letters to the Mountain, tells a story about the challenges of growing up in a small northern town, challenges which were worsened by a close family member's alcoholism. In the candid words written to her kindred spirit, we are given Anya's honest recollection of her childhood. While her experiences have crafted the woman that she is today, she has her best friend to thank for enabling her to break through the confines of how she was raised, seek outside help to deal with the shadows of her past, and blossom into a strong and successful woman. So please welcome Anya.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be reading from my book, Letters to the Mountain, today. I'm just going to read the foreword and then skip ahead a little bit to the last time that I saw my best friend Rachel in person. Forward, September 21st, 2010. Dear Rachel, I miss you, and I love you. I always will. I am sad and confused and still a bit hopeful. I had this idea to write to you since you're not here to hear all the things I want to share with you, and I've had a hard time getting started. A lot of stuff has been hard lately. Sleeping, waking, eating. It just doesn't make any sense. I have so much more I want to tell you, but I'm going to go to sleep for tonight. It's getting late. I'm just so tired. Anya. It was a sunny morning as you pushed your bike down the street while we walked alongside you. I remember the way the sun spoke boldly and unexpectedly, glinting off of the green of the leaves shading the sidewalks. Brad strolled ahead of us, leaving you and I to walk side by side, which he still does now if we're with one of my friends. I will always remember the smiles and laughter reflected in the day, the trees, and the company, and the happiness. I could always count on you for laughter and happiness. We said our goodbyes, and Brad and I got on the SkyTrain, looking forward to our next grand adventure. I never thought twice about seeing you again. I most definitely took it for granted that I would, that your face would light up again when you next saw me, and that my soul would be complete upon seeing your happy face. I have a picture that sits in our hallway of Brad and I at the top of the Guinness storehouse, enjoying what will likely be the only pint of Guinness I drink. It's next to a picture of you and I before one of the O'Grady dances. They are two very happy pictures that bring me much joy every time I pass them. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Anya. Thank you so much for sharing your story. So the next author that we have this evening is Erik D'Souza. Erik is an author and publisher living in Port Moody. His written works have appeared in various magazines, anthologies, and literary websites. He is on the executive committee of the Tri-City Wordsmiths and an active member of both the Port Moody Writers Group and the Off the Page Speakers Group. He organizes and hosts the popular reading series, Writers in Our Midst, at the Port Moody Public Library. Erik is the co-owner of the publishing company Timbercrest Publishing. Death in Half Moon Bay will be the third book he's published. Previous titles include Straight Men in Gay Bars, a creative nonfiction memoir, and New Beginnings, an anthology of BC writers. You can learn more about Erik and his work at timbercrestpublishing.com. The book that we have in the White Pines collection is New Beginnings, a collection of creative writing from BC authors. This book is an anthology of short stories, poems, and creative nonfiction from 39 BC authors, 2/3 of which are Tri-City residents. All profits are being donated to SHARE Family and Community Services. Please welcome Erik.
Hi, Sadie. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. It's great to be here today, and it's nice to hear everybody's readings. Even under these circumstances, it's nice that the White Pines Gala continued. As Sadie said, New Beginnings, well, you can't really see it very well, is an anthology of local authors. Many of them are parts of the Port Moody Writers Group, but it's not exclusively them. Together, we also got some corporate sponsorship, and we're able to raise $10,000 so far that we've donated to SHARE, and the project is continuing. I'm going to read today from my story, which is called War Bride. It's a biography of my grandmother's. The War Bride. On May 7th, 1945, Germany collapsed and World War II was over. Within 2 months, I was discharged from the Auxiliary Territorial Service, the women's branch of the British Army. Luckily for me, married women were the first to go. My new husband, the charming French Canadian, Roger Bruyere, was still stationed in Ireland. We had been married for over half a year, but the Army had constantly redeployed him throughout the UK, and we had barely spent a month together since our wedding. Finally, in August, Roger was discharged. We'd only had a week together before he'd be shipped back to Canada. We stayed at my home in Staincross with my mom. That night, before we left, he said, "Promise me you'll come to Canada as soon as you can." I was nestled in his arms and quickly said, "I promise." He must have heard something in my tone because he asked, "Are you sure you want to move to Canada?" I wasn't sure. His mother had slighted our wedding, and although I had never met her, I knew she didn't like me. The rest of his family seemed very nice. They had sent telegrams from Quebec and welcomed me into their family. Her telegram arrived a few days late, and all it said was, "It's legal now, but I hope you don't leave it too late." That should have been a warning to me. I should have stayed in England, just as my family begged me to. But I loved Roger too much, and I constantly was reminded of what my mother said as premarital advice. You go where your man goes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erik. That was wonderful. We hope to get the Writers in Our Midst series back up and running soon as well. All right, well, our next author tonight is Shannon Matter. Shannon is a British Columbian singer-songwriter with 4 albums, a DVD, and a music documentary. She is the author of 6 books and the creator of the book character, Streaky the Comet. Shannon holds an international certification in aromatherapy. She is a vegan and a martial artist. Shannon has 3 books in the White Pines collection: Arctic Rescue, which is illustrated by local illustrator Olivia O, Streaky the Comet, Book 1, Streaky Goes to the Pleiades, and Honoring All Forms of Intelligence on Planet Earth. Shannon's books look at environmental issues, climate change, and animal activism. She uses fictional narrative, short stories, and essays to bring these issues to light. The character that she has created in Streaky the Comet is friendly, curious, and loves to travel. So please welcome Shannon. I think you might still be muted there, Shannon.
Sorry.
There we go. Perfect. Welcome.
So this is Olivia O's illustration of Streaky the Comet Book 2. And it's going to go on the cover. And I'm going to read from Streaky the Comet Book 2 today and let you see this visual so you can have a visual of what I'm about to read. This is chapter 7, called Moon Slalom. Streaky decides that it's time for one of his famous light shows. The planet Campanula has 4 moons, and the planet nearby, which is much larger than Campanula, has 10 moons. At the first moon of Campanula, Streaky takes a moment to look at the angles the way a billiards player would. Then he gets ready to go into hyperspace so he can travel really fast for the light show. Suddenly, he takes off. Around the right side of the first moon he zooms, then around the left side of the next moon, the right side of the third moon, and so on around all 14 moons. Then he flies like a corkscrew. Twisting towards the first moon, he starts with large circles which get smaller and smaller. His plasma tail makes an amazing display behind him. Back at the first moon, he stops abruptly. Then he circles around the moon so quickly it makes almost all the beings on the planets who are watching him feel dizzy. He corkscrews to the next moon and circles around it as well. This time, not just around the equator of the moon, he flies everywhere around the moon, around the pole, then 30 degrees from the pole, then the equator, then 30 degrees from the lower pole, and then the lower pole. His tail follows him, making it difficult to tell where he begins and where he ends. He slaloms one more time through the rest of the moons and then stops. He is tired, but he's energized by all the cheering from the inhabitants of the 2 planets and many of the moons. It has been fun for all of them, and Streaky has made them feel more connected by the particles he was dragging along in his wake. During his show, he brought particles from one sector to another, sweeping the energy of the planetary systems, recharging them, and livening up this part of the star system. The electricity of the space he flew through got a nice charge up. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Shannon. I'm excited to read the second volume. All right. So our next author is Yvonne Harris. Yvonne was raised in the Yukon and worked in Nunavut, where she wrote her novel, Ashuna. about an Inuit girl from the village of Penuktuk on Baffin Island. Yvonne spent her life as an avid outdoorswoman, ultra-marathon canoeist, and marathon skier until she suffered a stroke in 2016. Since then, she completed the historical fiction novel Redemption and the children's book Yukon Gold Mystery and The Pig Who Saved Christmas and Other Yukon Stories, with artwork by her granddaughter. Yvonne has a BA in psychology and an MA in regional planning. She has 6 children and 9 grandchildren and lives with her husband, Paul, in the Tri-Cities. Yvonne has 2 children's books and 1 adult book in the White Pines collection. Her children's books, The Pig Who Saved Christmas and Other Yukon Stories, with illustrations by Cecilia Kirkham. This book includes 7 Christmas stories that take place in the Yukon. Her second children's book is Yukon Gold Mystery, a thrilling adventure of mystery, intrigue, and murder set during the Klondike Gold Rush. Her adult book is Redemption, a story of the Oregon Trail and the Fraser River Gold Rush set in the 19th century. Yvonne also has 2 new books in the works, Murder During the Pandemic, Fiction with a Dose of Truth, which will soon be available, and her 12th book, a sequel to Redemption, which she is currently working on. So please welcome Yvonne.
Oh, I'm reading from chapter 27 of the Second Escape. That night, fierce winds moved across the lowlands, and a storm of clouds met the high Sierras, engulfing the mountain pass in a whiteout. Soon Alice could not see where the snow on the ground ended and the sky began. It was all one sheet of swirling white. They became entombed in the snow pit, growing weaker each day. Alice removed the laces from her boots and cut them into chips. Roast these, and please eat them. He gave each child a few inches of leather to chew on. On the 4th day, trapped in the pit, there was not even a shoelace to stem the hunger. Their faint hope was that the rescue party would start up the pass from Sutter's Fort with food and enough strong men to carry the smaller children and help the weak. The following night, 2 babies died in their mother's arms. Alice was frantic, knowing how weak her daughter Amelia was. There was no food, and if they didn't eat, they would all starve to death. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. That's wonderful. So before we move on to our next author, I just want to let everyone, all of our authors, know that we've had some really nice comments coming through on Facebook, thanking the readers who have read so far and congratulating everyone on their readings. So I just wanted to pass that along to everyone. And our next author up we have is Robb Taylor. Robb Taylor is the author of 3 poetry collections, including The News by Gasborough Press, which was a finalist for the 2017 Dorothy Livesay Poetry Prize. Robb is also the editor of What the Poets Are Doing, Canadian Poets in Conversation by Nightwood Editions, and guest editor of Best Canadian Poetry 2019 by Biblioasis. His 4th collection, Strangers, will be published by Biblioasis in spring 2021. He lives in Port Moody with his wife and children. Now, Robb was one of our inaugural White Pines authors and now has 4 books in the White Pines collection. His latest edition is Best Canadian Poetry 2019, an annual series which collects the 50 finest poems published by Canadians in the previous calendar year. The poems for the 2019 edition were selected by guest editor, Robb Taylor. Welcome, Robb.
Hi, thank you so much, Sadie. Before I say anything else, I just want to really thank Sadie for putting this event together and for the White Pines collection in general, which I know is Sadie does most of the work for, but I think other librarians pitch in as well. And I've worked with lots of libraries over the years, and there's very few that do this much to support local authors. And it's just a real honor and a real fortune to be in Port Moody. The book I'm going to talk about today, yes, is Best Canadian Poetry 2019, which is an anthology. I'm not going to read an excerpt from it since all I did was pick the poems. I didn't write them. But I did want to tell you a little bit about the series. It started in 2008, and there's been one every year since then. I am the first guest editor that was brought in from the Lower Mainland, so that was an exciting opportunity to showcase some Vancouver and environs poets. And what it entails editing this book is reading every poem published by a Canadian anywhere in print or the internet in a given year. In my case, that was over 2,100 poems that were published in magazines, journals, websites, wherever it might be. It's a very exhausting task, and I'm particularly happy to be here for this event because the library and the area around the library were essential to my editing this book. My son goes to daycare at Old Orchard Hall, and we'd walk the Shoreline Trail to daycare and back all the time, and I would be reading magazines. Once I got him dropped off, I would be reading the magazines on the way back, and I would often stop in at the library to do some research or to read a few books in one of the study carrels. And then once I'd selected out of those 2,100 poems, around 150 that I was going to look at with the ongoing series editors, I had to scan all of those and send the scans into the other editors, and I did not have a scanner. So I showed up at the library one day. I think it was Sadie actually who was there. And I said, I have a huge box of books and I need to sit at one of your computers for a very long time. And the librarians were very helpful with me as I fumbled with the machine and scanned all of these things. So this book wouldn't have happened without the library. A little about what you'll find in the book. You'll find these 50 poems. You'll also find 50 other poems that we loved but didn't have space for. And you'll also find information about the magazines that the poems came from, which is a great resource if you're a new writer, a new poet interested in getting into writing poetry, or if you're interested in short fiction or nonfiction, because the book does have a sister series for fiction and essays. So it's a great resource, both for enjoying reading, but also for doing some research and understanding what's out there and what's happening in the writing world in Canada. So do check it out if you get a chance, and thanks so much for this opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you so much, Rob. I was the one who was there, and I do remember when you came in and sat at that computer for quite a while. So I'm glad that we were able to help you get all of that, help you get that done. That's 2,100 poems. That is a lot of poems. All right, so the next author that we have tonight is Kaitlyn Johnson. Kaitlyn is a 24-year-old author. She started writing when she was 14 years old with her first published works as a short story and poem when she was in high school. Since then, she has published 3 books titled The Time It Takes, 7 Oaks, and 7 Oaks Changes. She is currently working on the 3rd installment of the 7 Oaks series. She is a big fan of writing, travel, and her cat, Faye, who each of her books has been dedicated to so far. Kaitlyn's first book, The Time It Takes, tells the story of Raleigh Carlisle. After a brief encounter with the unidentified, Raleigh wakes up to find that the world she once knew is long in the past. Armed only with a foreign book, she must find a way to navigate her new world and find her old memories. 7 Oaks and Changes follow the story of Kimberly Clay, a young woman who has spent her life trying to escape. It seems like Kimberly will never get that fresh start. Upon being accepted to her hometown university, Kim returns to the seemingly perfect town of 7 Oaks, where despite its charms and beauty, nothing is as it seems. In Changes, the 2nd installment of the 7 Oaks series, Kim is back and better than ever. At least that's what she keeps telling herself. Despite Kim's excitement for the fast approaching Halloween, she has more pressing issues at hand, including the funeral of a girl long forgotten, haunting from ghosts of the past, and even some mystical new paranormal potential. You can find all 3 of these books in the White Pines collection. So please welcome Kaitlyn as she tells us a little bit about how she first became a writer.
Hello, my name's Kaitlyn, or Kate or Katie. Like Sadie said, I first started writing 10 years ago, so when I was 14. And honestly, the reason why I started writing is because all of my friends in middle school were writing. And so I was like, oh, well, I want to fit in. So I started writing too. But their writing kind of stopped with fan fictions about Twilight and stuff like that. And then I actually started writing. And obviously mine did start with fan fictions too, but it soon progressed to other books, and it just kept steering away and away and away from the books that I already knew until it started just kind of coming out naturally without having any platform to start from. And so, yeah, I've written 3 books. The time it takes took a really long time because I just kept stopping and starting and stopping and starting until I realized that at some point you kind of just have to put it out there and just deal with it. But the Seven Oaks series has really held a special place in my heart because a lot of it is experiences that I went through in high school. Like, as this girl starts university, this is stuff I went through kind of in high school with anxiety and everything. And so it's kind of not just a journey of like self-discovery, but also like working through mental illnesses and friendships and the emphasis on those things. And yeah, and also my cat just appeared. So here's the cat that I have dedicated all of my books to. So yeah, that's it.
I was hoping the cat would make an appearance.
I know, she heard me talking and then she came in. It was great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kaitlyn.
Thank you.
The next author that we have tonight is Leesa Hanna. Leesa is a writer and artist living in Port Moody. Inspired by the natural beauty of the west coast of Canada, she works in many different mediums to parlay her thoughts, but the theme of her work remains the same: humankind's connection to nature and to Mother Earth. She has recently completed writing and illustrating her first children's chapter book, The Big Adventures of Little O, A Song for the Salmon. Leesa's book is a nature fantasy novel for ages 7 to 10 years old, which portrays young ocean and forest creatures of the Pacific Northwest as they find kinship to Mother Nature while striving to survive and thrive in their changing environment. The Big Adventures of Little O was longlisted for the Canadian Society of Children's Authors, Illustrators, and Performers Writing for Children competition in 2019. So please welcome Leesa.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Sadie, for putting this together. I'm going to be reading chapter 12 from my book, Dreams of Home. Hello again, Moon. Little O rests under the bright night sky. Warm waves cradle him, rolling under his belly and rocking him. He has traveled so far and put so many thoughts and miles behind him. His heartbeat slows to the ebb of the waves, and he enters a beautiful dream. Little O's mama smiles up at him from the hammock of woven kelp leaves swinging gently underneath him. She flaps her fins in the warm wind, and together they fly across the endless sky, high over the sea. Little O can see his reflection in the still surface below. Everything looks so small, he thinks. You are very strong, Little O, says Mama Whale, and full of magic. Thank you, Mama. Where do you want to go? Says Little O. I'll take you anywhere. Then we shall go where my mama took me, and her mama took her before that. We will go where you will take your family one day, and they will take theirs. How will we know when we've arrived? Says Little O. You will know when you hear the echoes of Mother Nature's songs in your head. You will see the jewels of the great sun and ocean collide, and you will feel the warmth and ease of who you are in your heart. Mama Whale pauses. You will feel perfect in everything you are. What if we get lost, Mama? I don't know the way, says Little O. Does a leaf get lost on a tree? Does a cloud get lost in the sky? You know the way, Little O. Listen to your heart. I will, Mama. Little O soars up through the clouds, bursting through. Droplets of water scatter onto the sea. Mama Whale's laughter brightens Little O's eyes and gives him the most beautiful warmth he's ever felt. They fly a hair's breadth above the polished surface of the sea. Mama Whale parts the ocean with her fin, sending a wave of water to tickle Little O's belly. They squeal with delight and dive into the glowing world beneath them.
Thank you, Leesa.
Thank you.
That was lovely. I remember seeing your Little O artwork up by the SkyTrain station every day when I would walk by. So I was,
yeah.
It was very nice when you submitted the book and I was able to connect connect that to the art that I have seen. Thank you.
Thanks, Sadie.
So the next author that we have reading for us is Kasturi Ghosh. Kasturi is an international trade consultant by profession and a wordsmith by compulsion who lives and breathes words. She has built a career that has allowed her to set up homes on 3 continents and visit dozens of countries, letting her observe the intriguing cultural diversity of geographies and the common thread of human emotions that binds us all. All of these experiences and travels form the raw material for her poetry. Kasturi lives with her spouse in Port Moody. Kasturi's book, Parched Paper, A Tapestry of Words, is a collection of poems expressing the many hues of human emotions. This tapestry will resonate with you and leave you smiling or pondering long after you have shut its pages. So please welcome Kasturi.
Hi, Sadie. I want to thank you for your passion and effort in bringing us all together this evening. And to be in the midst of all the rest of you, it's great. So hi again. Today, what I'm going to be doing is reading 2 short poems from my book, Parched Paper. These tie in a subject that is very close to my heart, which is inclusiveness. And the first one that I'll read to you, is titled God. And this is where I've tried to lend my voice against religious discrimination. In the pores of oven-warm bread, in the folds of sun-dried sheets, in the blossoming of dew-encrusted buds, I find hope and God. In the calm of an enveloping dusk, in the silence of majestic star-studded nights, in the steady chitter of a cricket, I glimpse peace and God. In the rhythmic breath of my sleeping love, in the crinkle of a toothless grin, in the giggles of a carefree child, I touch love and God. In the writings of long-gone poets, in the chantings in unknown tongues, in the brushstrokes of roadside artists, I know faith and God. And that is all the God I wish to know. The second one is something which we are all aspiring to as a world order in specifically the current scenario. It's called Seeds of Peace. And here I've tried to explore that peace is beyond just lack of violence. What is peace? To each his own, yet all humanity reaps the fruit of a seed sown. To a new mother, it's a night's deep sleep, a pain-free day to the deceased. To that emaciated little boy living in the slums, peace is a day when hunger is satiated by crumbs. To the battered and the victims of abuse, peace is freedom, the right to refuse. Peace is not merely the lack of war, fought on shores and distant lands afar. It is intrinsic to every life, much closer home than just absence of strife. It's measured in the steady rhythm of each heart, in smiles and tears that emotions impart. In calm waters and rustling breeze, you catch glimpses of it in an infant's deep sleep. In snow-draped mountains, silent streams, is the sky at dawn, painted with rose-hued dreams. Let each man sow a tiny seed of peace in the way he knows best to make turmoil cease, and through their collective intent, one morn, humanity will awake to peace reborn. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Those were beautiful. The next author that we have tonight is Doug Matthews. Doug has a diverse background, including 22 years in the Royal Canadian Air Force as an aeronautical engineer, 19 years as the owner of an event production company, and 5 years as a university lecturer. Throughout this time and up to the present, he has also passionately embraced writing and photography, drawing on his experience in special events and his other areas of interest, archaeology and entertainment. To date, he has published 5 textbooks on special event production, 1 book of humorous anecdotes of his entertainment career, and 4 photography books, as well as journal and magazine articles. Doug's White Pines book, Stumbling Towards Applause, Misadventures in Entertainment, reveals real-life backstage experiences within the relatively young industry of special events. Unusual brushes with celebrities like Michael Bublé and Diana Krall, jungle animals on the loose, bar fights, pyrotechnics gone awry, technical glitches at award ceremonies, and a sweltering outdoor show for UN troops in war-torn Cambodia are just a few of the stories that await within this book. Please welcome Doug. I think you are still muted there, Doug.
All right?
Perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm just going to read the first chunk of one of my stories. Longer one, but this is a short part. Paul was a good friend who owned a recording studio and was well connected in the Vancouver music scene. We often worked together to create special songs for clients and traded new talent that we encountered. Usually we just gave each other the name and phone number of the talent. On one occasion, it was different. Hey, Doug, I got someone in the studio you should listen to. Paul was on the phone and he sounded breathless. Can you come down this afternoon? Sure, I'll be there in half an hour. What's the big deal, I wondered. At the studio, Paul introduced me to a fresh-faced kid of about 19, accompanied by an older woman. The kid had purposely unkempt hair and a puppy dog face. He was dressed in casual slacks and a sports shirt, no jeans like most others his age. It helped her to look more mature. The woman was tall, her face stern. She reminded me of one of my stricter grade school teachers. We exchanged pleasantries, then Paul played back one of the kids' demo songs that he had recorded in the studio. It was a Sinatra tune. Everyone watched for my reaction as the music enveloped us. I sat stunned, feeling the shivers doing a jig up and down my spine and occasionally shaking my head in disbelief. The rich, smooth baritone was better than Sinatra, better than most crooners I'd ever heard. When the song was over, all I could say was, wow. I'm sorry, what did you say your name was again? It's Michael Bublé, the kid answered with a confident smile. And I'm Michael's manager, said Bev, the woman accompanying him. Well, Michael and Bev, that's quite a voice. I have a feeling it's going to take you a long way, Michael, I said. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. That was wonderful. Did you get a chance to speak with Michael quite a bit in your experiences?
Oh yeah. There was that. That was just the first time I encountered him, and then we did several gigs, and the rest of that story is about the rest of my my time with him.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks.
So the next author that we have with us tonight is Karen Hein. Karen has been writing poetry since grade 4, and she is currently working towards her dreams of being a metaphysical spiritual guidance life coach. She has been a motivational speaker, and she believes that mental wellness is possible for everyone. Karen is currently working on her memoirs, another book of poetry, and her journals. She resides in Port Coquitlam, surrounded and supported by friends and family. If you like simple, easy to understand poetry, you will like Karen's 40-page booklet, Inspired Musings. The subjects range from fantasy to nature and always evoke a response from the reader. Metaphors fill the pages and very little rhymes. It is original and reads like a smooth ice cream sandwich. Please welcome Karen.
Thank you, Sadie. I'm Karen, and this is my book, Inspired Musings. I'm going to read a poem from it and then give you kind of my synopsis of it. So here we go. On a hill in the countryside stood an old log cabin. Inside, a bearded old man sat in his rickety rocker where he wove fanciful stories that always had happy endings. Clustered at his feet were a gathering of tiny children who listened attentively. As the friendly fire sparkled and crackled, and the old man's faithful hound rested contentedly by the hearth, the snow fell quietly outside the frame of the wooden windowsill. So anyway, many of my poems reflect on time. Time's character in this poem is one of grandfather Time, teaching through tales and fables little nuggets of wisdom to the young. I don't think any of us ever stop learning his lessons about life. The poem is also reflective of safety and comfort, which is a great place to be in no matter what stage of life one is at. Thank you.
Wonderful, Karen. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Our next author this evening is Jim Peacock. Jim spent 15 years as a journalist in Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, New York, and Vancouver, and as well as more years in Vancouver in the practice of media and public relations. Born in Alberta, he resided for more than 50 years in Port Moody and now lives in retirement in Port Coquitlam. He began his book writing activities in 2018, published a memoir, Remember the Good Times, in 2019, and in partnership with illustrator Don Matson, published a second book, Fun with Words, The ABCs of Heteronyms and Homonyms, in 2020. Remember the Good Times, Personal Memories of Career and Family, recounts Jim's lifetime spent on the world stage of journalism and media. Woven in are anecdotes of milestones in his life with his wife Jean and daughters Virginia, Carrie, and Peggy in the Glen Eyre subdivision of Port Moody. Written with appreciation of key details that make up a life well lived, Remember the Good Times highlights the value of good work, good friends, and most of all, family. Please welcome Jim.
Thank you very much, Sadie. Thank you for putting this whole thing together. In a course of my career, I've met very many interesting and sometimes exciting people. And one of those was Nancy Green, and I'm going to read an abbreviated bit from the chapter in the book that relates to Nancy Green. She grew up in Rossland, BC, and earned a place in history as one of the best-known Canadian skiers. She began ski racing in high school, was inspired by Lucille Wheeler of Saint-Jovie, Quebec, who became the first Canadian to win an Olympic medal, the bronze at the 1958 Cortina Winter Games. At the 1960 Squaw Valley Games, Nancy roomed with Anne Hegteveit of Ottawa, who won a gold in the slalom. Nancy became determined at that point to also win Olympic gold, and she did so at the 1968 Grenoble Winter Games in the giant slalom. She skied a near perfect race and won by 2.68 seconds, the largest margin in the event's history. She then handily won her second overall World Cup title before retiring from amateur racing at the age of 24. The first contract she accepted as an assignment was an assignment for the BC Telephone Company, whose chief executive at that time, Ernie Richardson, had teenage daughters and a parental concern about the drug culture that was menacing a lot of young people. Green was a positive role model. Richardson supported the idea that BC Tel and the community it served would both benefit from sponsorship that brought Green's leadership to teenagers through direct communication at high school and other public appearances and indirect messaging through media coverage of that communication. I was given the opportunity to negotiate the sponsorship agreement and subsequently to work on media relations to spread what Nancy told the audiences she addressed. And that message was that skiing in training and competition brought her highs that couldn't be achieved through drugs, and that athletics could help to build respect, self-confidence, and strong personal development with long-standing individual benefits. Nancy became a senator in due course and is still very active. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. I actually grew up very close to Rossland, BC, so I'm very familiar with Nancy Green and her story. So thank you so much for sharing. The next author that we have tonight is Deborah Purdy Kong. Deborah's volunteer experience, criminology diploma, and security work inspired her to write mysteries set in the Lower Mainland. She has published short stories in a variety of genres, as well as personal essays and articles for publications such as Chicken Soup for the Bride's Soul, BC Parent Magazine, and the Vancouver Sun. She is a facilitator for the Creative Writing Program through Port Moody Recreation and a longtime member of Crime Writers of Canada. Deborah's book, The Blade Man, is the 6th installment in the Casey Holland mystery series. It tells the story of a mysterious loner who has been attacking mainland public transport bus drivers. The company's president suspects an inside job and orders security officer Casey Holland to launch an internal investigation or face termination. As more employees are attacked and the president forces Casey to take deeper risks, Casey starts to wonder how much is too much and how far she must go. Please welcome Deborah.
Thank you, Sadie, and good evening, everybody. So I'm going to read near the center of the book here. This is just after an explosion has taken place at Mainland Public Transport, which is the fictional bus company that I have created for this story. As the second in command of security, Casey has been summoned by the company's president, Gwyn. A guard was supposed to have been patrolling the premises that night, and things didn't go too well. Chapter 15. The commotion at MPT forced Casey to park 3 blocks away. The cops had erected roadblocks to keep spectators and vehicles out of the area. Not that there were many people around after midnight. MPT's entrance was on a side street off the beaten path from the busier Lougheed Highway that stretched through several municipalities in Metro Vancouver. Hoofing it down the sidewalk on this cool and cloudy night, Casey shivered. She doubted it would rain. Normally she smelled the dampness just before it came. Tonight, she smelled smoke. The closer she came to the property, the stronger the smell. Firefighters were spraying water on bright, crackling flames still spurting through the garage's dilapidated roof. Emergency vehicles cluttered MPT's yard, where many buses were already parked for the night. A handful of spectators had begun to gather. More appeared to be coming from the condo towers at the end of the side street. Some appeared to have flung jackets over their PJs and wandered over here in flip-flops or Crocs. Others wore slippers, personifying Vancouver's casualness for pretty much any incident or event. Casey turned back to the garage. At least the cinder block walls were intact, but what about the contents? She listened to occasional shouts from firefighters and cops. The controlled chaos was both mesmerizing and horrifying. She spotted Gwyn Maddox near the entrance to the yard, talking with a cop. "I can't believe this is happening," Anoop said as he drew near. "How could I have missed the arsonist? I walked through and around the garage just a couple of minutes earlier, barely made it to the admin building before the explosion." "Why were you patrolling?" she asked, hoping she sounded calmer than she felt. "Wayne was supposed to be here." He asked to swap shift at the last minute. Wayne had joined the security team only a month ago and had already called in sick twice. Firefighters said the back window was broken. Anoop adjusted his glasses, but it wasn't when I walked by. After it happened, I ran down there, but the gasoline smell was so strong I started choking. It was like the whole building had been splashed with it. "Someone could have been watching you." Casey kept her voice low as she surveyed the spectators, "waiting for you to move out of the way." Anoop gazed at the ground. "I should have called you. But I tried searching for the suspect, and then firefighters and cops and Gwyn showed up." "It's all right. Don't lose sleep over this," Casey said. "If the guy was watching you, he'd make sure you couldn't see him." "Mr. Verma was being watched," a voice behind them said. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Deborah. Leave it on a cliffhanger. We have some comments on Facebook for people who are very excited to read this book. So excellent. I also want to pass along that people have been saying that they've been enjoying all of the readings so far tonight. So thank you so much to everyone so far who has done their readings. The next author that we have tonight is Faye Blackler. Whether she is creating something in her writing or in her life, Faye is always trying to stay moving and going forward. Married to the love of her life with their 3 ridiculously amazing children, she somehow manages to find time to create. Faye is the author and illustrator of several children's books, including Parts of Her Showing Love and Water the Fish, both of which are available through the White Pines collection. Her latest work as an illustrator is a new release written by her daughter. It is called The Big Magical Cloud. Faye is another of our inaugural White Pines authors, and she now has 4 books in the White Pines collection. Her 2 newest editions are Snow Mountain Elementary Book 2, Getting to Know Olivia, which follows awkward and misunderstood Olivia as she sets out for her summer break with new goals and a hope that she'll meet her new best friend. Her other book is a fun picture book, Water the Fish. This book tells the story of Water, a small, slow fish who dreams of competing in races. Please welcome Faye.
Thank you, Sadie, and thank you to the library for the White Pines collection and for tonight's event. So the book I'll be reading is Water the Fish. Once upon a time, there was a fish named Water. Water wasn't the best swimmer, even though she was a fish. It was her dream to eventually win a race, so every day she would practice swimming along a racing route. When the other fish found out that Water was going to race, they laughed. They would tell her that she was not a good swimmer, that she was too small and too slow. This made her sad, but her family told her to try her best. First or last, they were proud of her for trying. She would regret it if she never tried at all. One day, when Water was practicing, a hungry shark spotted her and decided she looked delicious. Water saw the shark immediately. She swam away as fast as she could. Just as she thought she was safe, a bear tried to scoop her up. Water jumped out of the way and swam deeper in the water. Then a big fish with big teeth wanted to eat her. Water swam left. Water turned right. Water swam in a circle. Water swam close to the surface and down close to the ocean floor. Then she hid out of sight to make sure the big fish was gone. When it was safe, Water went home. On the day of the race, Water swam faster than a shark. She jumped higher than a dolphin. Water swam left. Water turned right. Water swam in a circle. Water swam up close to the surface and down close to the ocean floor. When she passed the finish line. She had won. Her family was so happy for her. The other fish that laughed at her said sorry. They were wrong to think she couldn't become a better swimmer. Water was small, but she was no longer slow. The other fish now wanted to swim like her. Water's dream came true. The end.
Thank you so much, Faye. That was wonderful. Very, very nice story.
Thank you.
It is always so nice to see our White Pines authors continue to submit books to this collection. So both Faye and Rob submitted books for our inaugural collection and have continued to do so this year. So it makes me very happy to see that. So the final author that we have tonight is L.B. Wordsmith. L.B. was born in the beautiful Lower Mainland. He has lived there for most of his life, except for 4 years in Fernie and 14 years in Victoria. This is where he lives, loves, and learns life's lessons. His priority is his family, and he enjoys the challenges, experiences, and the exciting future. L.B. describes himself as a Renaissance man in a cyberspace world. He is a poet, an unpublished songwriter, a painter, a dance instructor, a college instructor, a tutor and mentor, an empath, and a volunteer director on nonprofit boards. L.B. can shoot a bow, is an avid reader and chess player, and enjoys fine food and beverages. He is eternally a romantic and an optimist. L.B.'s book, Clouds in a Cloudless Blue Sky 2 is a book of poetry covering his 70-plus years of life experiences. The poems in this book touch on love, despair, joy, tragedy, humor, dreams, and whimsy. Please welcome Elby.
Hi, Sadie. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. I don't know if you can see me or not. My screen's not showing myself. So.
No, we cannot see you. If you look on the bottom of your screen, there should be a start video button. If you see that there.
Yeah, but it's not working.
Oh, no.
My camera seems to be on, but anyway.
Okay, well, I will leave your picture up here while you do your reading.
Okay. My book contains 75 plus poems about everything in life that I've experienced in my 70 plus years. And I'm trying to give you a little bit of, I'm going to read 3 poems. The first was when I was without a lady in my life, and I was dreaming of the lady I'd like to have in my life. The second is called Heart, and it's when you don't, it's a downer, sort of a downer. And the third is a warning, a strong warning. So anyway, I hope I can get these all in the time I'm allotted. The first one is called Contentment. She comes softly to my pillow, the grace beyond compare. I can sense the fine, sweet feeling as I brush against her hair. In my arms, she lies so quiet with a warmth for only me as I stroke her tender forehead and relax in luxury. For her presence brings me happiness, her scent my shared delight, and the comfort that we share now cannot be found with might. She comes softly to my pillow, and from eve to daylight's birth, brings me joy and heartfelt meaning. She's the greatest girl on earth. The next poem is called Heart, and it's one of the poems that most people have, over 1,000 people have read and commented on. How can my heart be broken time and time again, yet still upon my heart be worn to chance a break again? How can my life be shattered with malice cast aside, yet hope still spring eternal from somewhere deep inside? No, I cannot forsake love to live in dismal gloom, with its eternal darkness, my soul an empty room. So I will wear it proudly, upon my sleeve it rests, a symbol to eternity that I will seek and quest. Now I'm from Irish stock, and this one is called Celtic Curses, or depending on how you pronounce it, Celtic Curses. Now listen to me carefully, man, and don't you mess with me. My family are of Celtic stock, both men of land and sea. We've often been a gentle lot, give up to our ground, but pray to heavens that you don't push one of us around. Our curses can be gentle, the kind that last and last, or they can be so harsh you wish your life would soon be past. No, don't you mess with Celtic folk, though seldom do we seek the kind of rack and ruin our curses they can wreak. Your life will end in tatters, your happiness be gone. Upon our father's souls, this action won't take long. So listen well to me, good man, and better you'd best be. Cross not us mild Celtic folk, but learn to humor me. I hope that didn't exceed my time limit.
Not at all. Thank you so much for sharing.
The one last thing I could say, Sadie,
of course,
is, in my view, life is equal to emotion. Poetry is equal to emotion. So therefore, life is equal to poetry.
No, I like that.
And I'd like to thank all the other members who have spoken tonight, as well as yourself, for putting this on. They've given me humility, and inspiration.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your words and for your poems. And thank you so much to all of our authors this evening. That brings us to the end of our readings for tonight. So they were all so wonderful, and I am so happy that you all came and shared your words with us today. So thank you very much. Now, if we have any questions coming in on Facebook, I'm just going to take a look, and we do have a little bit of time for questions here. So let's see what we have. We do have a comment that says, oh, that's from Erik. Thank you, Erik. And thank you for all of the stories and poems. There is so much talent in our community, Erik. I agree. I think it's so wonderful. This collection has really brought that out for me and has allowed me to see how much talent is in our community. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'm just going to see a couple minutes, see if anyone has any questions coming through on Facebook. And if not, then we will say goodnight for the evening. But it has been so nice to have everyone here.
Sadie, it's Greg. Can I just throw something in here?
Of course.
It's actually to Jim. His reading fired up a very powerful memory in my life. In 1971 or 72, as a 10-year-old kid, I somehow got double pneumonia before Christmas. And it got worse and worse, and my parents, I think, unknown to me, kind of decided that, well, it's really close to Christmas. Let's see if we can sort of nurse him to Christmas morning, because he's a child, 10 years old, get through gifts, and then take him to the hospital. So that's exactly what happened. And so Christmas Day at, I don't know, 9:30, 10 a.m., I went to Burnaby General Hospital, was admitted, went into the children's ward, and I was in rough shape. And double pneumonia can kill a person. And so I was laid up anyways and had a terrible time. They treated it with humidity and all this, but it was just, I was awakened every 4 hours. They had to change the bedding because of all the humidity. And my point is that, so my mom came every day, and being a kid, I was just in really bad shape. And I think 2 days in, or 3 days in, or no, it was, I don't remember. It was Christmas Day or Boxing Day or something, that I was up in the morning and just doing nothing really, feeling pretty down. And somebody walked in the door. I took one look and I couldn't believe it. Nancy Green, Canada's Olympic skier, walked through the door of a children's hospital at holiday time, when very few people did, and came and just talked to all of us on the board, and it just, my spirit just immediately perked up. I went like, "Here, Nancy Green, here, Nancy Green." I couldn't believe it, because she had just won gold medals at the Olympics, and some like 3 years earlier or so. And so anyway, then this is what I find with writing, is that when we talk about life stories, whether they be ours or someone else's, very often we can relate in different ways. So anyway, thank you, Jim. It reminded me of Nancy's grace and charity. It was wonderful.
Nancy was a wonderful person in that regard.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think, yeah, you're right. I think that we start to realize all of those connections and how we can relate to other people's words, which is wonderful. So we have not had any questions come through on Facebook, but that is okay, because it has been an absolutely wonderful event. I thank all of the authors tonight for coming and doing their readings. It has been so nice to have everybody here. The readings are very, very exciting, and I'm really looking forward to reading all of your books. It might take me a little while to get through them all, but I'm very excited to read all of the books. For those of you who are watching, I wanted to let you know that all of the White Pines books are available for borrowing, this batch of books as well as our initial books. You can stop by the library during our controlled access hours to look at the collection, or you can always place holds on the items through our online catalog. I have put up the website there, so if you do have any questions or want some more information about the collection itself, you can go to our website there, which is portmoodylibrary.ca /White Pines. So thank you so much, everybody. With that, we've come to the end of our first virtual White Pines Gala. Thank you so much to all of the authors. It has been such a pleasure. It's been so nice to learn more about you and your writing. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in over Facebook tonight, as well as anyone who is watching the event later. And with that, I would just like to say goodbye to everyone. Have a wonderful night, and we will see everyone soon.
Bye, Sadie.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Sadie.
Bye.
All right, we are off of Facebook Live. Thank you everyone so much for coming. It was so nice. So thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you for all you did.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad that we were able to do something, even if it wasn't exactly what we had planned originally.
I'd like to thank Antek especially because such a young man to do so well.
I can't believe how many poets there are.
Yeah, it's nice. I think last year we only had one poet, so it's been nice to get a few more poets in the collection as well this year. Wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much. Please let me know if you have any questions. I will be working on getting a copy of the video. So I will let you know, everybody know once I have that. But always feel free to email me if you have any questions about anything. And we'll see you all soon.
We'll be contacting the authors of the kids' books because that's something I'd like to get into for my granddaughters.
Oh, wonderful.
Bye, Sadie.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye, Kailey. Have a good night.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Shannon. Bye,
Did
Bay.
anyone else disconnect at the end there, or was
Pardon?
it just me? Did
Oh,
anyone
no.
else disconnected, or was it just me?
I didn't see anyone else. I saw you rejoin, Bay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just like froze and then went all disconnected.
Oh, no. I have two of you now, it looks like.
It must have been my internet.
Yeah.
Hey, I did see your presentation was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Thanks so much for coming.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye, Babe. Bye, Shannon.
Bye. Thank you,
you.
Sadie.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.